How to get the best out of Amad Diallo, why the role that Toby Collyer would play in the United squad is different to the role that I think Oyedele should play. I'll be answering those questions in this video, and towards the end of the video I'll also be talking about who potentially gets sold next summer from United's forward line and what type of player I would be looking to replace them with. So obviously my best Manchester United 11 is going to be different for different opponents, with United switching from a more possession dominant style when they are able to control possession and be on the offensive to more of a quicker transitional setup, mostly against the top sides who are going to be able to sustain long periods of possession. But we'll start off with a game for United where they probably want to use a quicker, more direct and transitional attack. Let's say the 1st of September, the third game of the Premier League at home to Liverpool. Who would I start? So Andre Onana obviously in goal, right back Dalot, centre back pairing of De Ligt and Martinez, Shaw at left back if he's fit, Ugarte and Mainu the double pivot with Bruno Fernandes in front, Amad from the right, Rashford from the left and Xerxes starting up front. On the bench you also have Garnacho, Sancho and Mount, as well as Sancho and Hojlund when they do return from injury. I think against sides who are going to press United aggressively in the build-up phase, pushing their backline high up the pitch, as Liverpool under slot probably will, then using Xerxes as the centre forward ahead of Hojlund, even if he was fit, does make a lot more sense, as the positional liberalism of Xerxes' centre forward role I think works perfectly in tandem with the role that Rashford excels in, which is as an inside forward who can drop to link the play on the deeper part of the flank when needed, but really is looking to make those quick diagonal runs from out to in, with Xerxes' deeper movement looking to open up spaces for Rashford, usually from dragging a centre back out of the back line. But before I come on to when I think Sancho and Hojlund should be used in the starting 11, if you want to pick up any of the new season jerseys, head over to Jersey FIFA. They've also got the international and club retro jerseys as well. If you use code Atlantis at checkout you'll get a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which I will leave linked in the description. Against weaker sides who aren't going to engage United as high up the pitch as Liverpool, say against Southampton 2 weeks after the next game week after Liverpool, Rasmus Hojlund at centre forward and Jadon Sancho at left wing does make more sense. And when you think about it stylistically, it does make sense. The deeper the opposition's midfield and backline are, the less space firstly Xerxes has to move into, in behind the opposition's midfield, but also then as a consequence Rashford has less space to run into, between and in behind the defensive line. I think Jadon Sancho is ideal for this situation where United need intricate play in congested positions in and around the box, as his ball control and his weight and timing of his short passing is excellent, and with the opposition dropping deeper, United are going to have possession closer to the opposition's box, and so whilst in the middle third when you need a centre forward who can drop off and link the play, Xerxes is without doubt the better compared to Hojlund. In the final third and inside the box, when it comes down to movement, ball control, composure and overall finishing ability, I think you'd have to say that Hojlund is the superior. But in these games where United are able to push the opposition backwards and control possession high up the pitch, likely what the game style should be against Fulham on the opening day of the season, how do United use Sancho and Hojlund to create chances? Well, obviously for the game against Fulham, Hojlund's injured, but just in general against that sort of team, that sort of tactical style. So when the opposition are camping inside of their own half, meaning that United's primary chance creating opportunities are coming down the flanks, that is the sort of game where you want a front three of Amad and Sancho either side of Hojlund, Bruno Fernandes and Mount as the two advanced central midfielders, and from here if we're chasing the game or are just in need of scoring in the next 20 to 25 minutes, I'd sacrifice Ugarte and have Mainu playing in the double pivot, with either Lisandro Martinez or Dalot pushing up when United are pressing aggressively. When United have possession however, even in this role, Mainu can still be provided with the freedom to push further forward into the final third, because it's all about balance in the system. The single pivot doesn't have to hold a position behind the ball all of the time. United could just push Lisandro Martinez up into a central defensive midfielder kind of position in possession, which would be considered a libero role in possession, with De Ligt sitting deeper as the sweeper, centrally in a three with Dalot and Shaw either side. Despite Dalot and Shaw initially having these deeper starting positions in the rest defence however, this doesn't mean like Mainu that they can't push forward and make a run into the final third, as like I said before, it depends on the balance of the whole system, and so if Mount from the right sided half space and Mainu from the left sided half space dropped off in front of the opposition's midfield line, taking up these deeper wider positions, either side of Martinez and De Ligt, Shaw and Dalot from fullback are then free to make what I would actually consider essential over and underlapping runs. And this is because I think without runners ahead of them when they receive the ball on the flank, Ahmad, but particularly Sancho, are probably 60% less effective as when they have either Mainu or Mount providing the underlapping runs on the inside, or Dalot or Shaw providing the overlapping runs down the outside. And so I think it's imperative that whenever Sancho or Ahmad receive the ball on the left or right side in the final third, that they have one of Mount or Fernandes, whoever is playing in the half space on that side, to provide an underlapping run, or if either of these two players are in a deeper position, then Dalot or Shaw, the fullbacks, providing the overlapping run down the outside. I think in pre-season Ahmad has already shown that he might be a level above Garnacho in terms of his vision, composure, weight and timing of his pass in and around the box, whilst now also developing a lot more consistency in his emphatic finishing when shooting from the right with his left foot. And Ahmad has scored 2 goals this pre-season coming from this exact area, and I think we should be expecting Ahmad to come up with double figures in terms of goals next season. Last season Garnacho picked up 10 goals and 5 assists in 50 games in all competitions, whilst also playing 3,574 minutes. But I think that Ahmad could pick up 10 goals in the Premier League alone next season. But that of course is dependent on the system around him, and Ten Hag does need to set up these coordinated patterns of play and runs ahead of Ahmad in order to get him into those shooting and chance creating positions around the box where we've seen him be so clinical already in pre-season. I think Ten Hag has to coordinate patterns of play with players on the right and left side in order to drag opposition players out of the zones that both Rashford and Ahmad want to move into, and this is usually going to be the player in the half space making an underlapping run between the opposition's fullback and centre back, dragging the opposition's midfielder in that zone into a deep position in the back line, vacating the space for Ahmad to cut into and either create or release a shot himself. But let's now move on to 2 players who won't be starters for United next season, but could still play essential roles. I think Maxi Oyedele and Toby Collyer are 2 very good options from the bench, as unlike Casemiro and Eriksen, they both provide legs and athleticism, which is most of the time what you need from substitutions around the 60th to 70th minute mark. I think Collyer within the next 2 seasons can establish himself as a first team reliable squad player and earn a new 4 or 5 year contract, with him primarily being used to come on midway through the second half when United are winning or need to stop the opposition countering quickly and sustaining possession. Collyer needs to bring intensity, which I think Maxi Oyedele also will need to do as well, though these 2 do offer slightly different skill sets, which I'm going to explain in just a bit. But first, if you want to sign up to my newsletter, click my Patreon link in the description, and it's just me giving my general thoughts on whatever happens regarding football that week in article format, so you can sign up to my Patreon for £1 a month. I also offer other services on my Patreon, so you can check out them, see if you're interested. I'll leave that linked in the description. So Collyer to me is like a Darren Fletcher, Owen Hargreaves or a Ji-Sung Park, what people thought McTominay was: efficient in possession, an absolute workhorse when running back towards his own goal, positional intelligence, but also I think he can be a threat when breaking from deep into the box. Oyedele on the other hand is more like Matic under Mourinho, primarily being an anchor man sitting behind the play and providing ball progression through their passing from deep, both long and incisive between the lines. Kobbie Mainoo to me is like Moussa Dembele, what people thought Pogba was. The difference between Dembele and Pogba was that Dembele was significantly better and less restricted when being given more defensive responsibility in the midfield. United should have signed Dembele from Tottenham in 2013 or 2014, or even any time from 2015 to 2017 to be honest. Matic with Pogba to his left and Moussa Dembele to his right in a Mourinho midfield would have been perfect to challenge Pep Guardiola's City from 2016 to 2019. I think a combination of Oyedele, Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes are maybe 2 or 3 seasons away from that level. Oyedele, whenever I watch him play, just looks like a player who's going to excel in the modern game. Athletic, a tough tackler, fluid when receiving the ball, capable of driving into space but also splitting the midfield with passes into players between the lines. I think Collyer or even Dangor long term probably aren't going to be starters, but probably more like squad players, who can come in to provide extra legs that United need in certain situations. If United bring in Manuel Ugarte, then I think that's a perfect age profile and player overall to play ahead of Oyedele. Ugarte comes in and for the next 2 seasons at least is going to be the main starter, allowing Oyedele to develop in the background, and even if Ugarte is a success, Oyedele's potential may be higher, and so a period of progression away from the limelight that Mainoo has had may actually be beneficial to Oyedele's development in the long run. Mainoo will be a starter and will have the pressure, that's just the way it is, but him alongside Fernandes ahead of Ugarte and maybe Oyedele long term, with Mason Mount capable of filling in for either Mainoo or Bruno Fernandes and Collyer and Gore in the background as well, that to me does look very promising. So let's fast forward to next summer. Who would I be looking to add to United's squad to transform United from likely a 3rd or 4th place team to be able to compete for the title next season? Well, Luke Shaw will probably have to be replaced, and if Rashford or Sancho don't perform this season, one of them is probably gone as well. You'd hope Antony would also go this summer or at least next summer for around £25 to £30 million. But when it does come to replacing either Sancho or Rashford, we definitely need a world-class or a soon-to-be world-class talent. Ahmad and Garnacho actually provide us with two very good but different stylistic options on the right, with Mount also able to play a more conservative role there as well. And at centre forward, United are absolutely stacked at the moment, with Xerxes and Hojlund, the two in contention to start most weeks for the foreseeable future, with Ethan Wheatley and Chido Obi-Martin competing for that 3rd choice striker slot. Rashford or Sancho, whoever is sold, will likely bring in around £40 to £50 million next summer, and I think we can use that alongside the Antony money, and maybe even the Greenwood or Palestri money if you factor that in as well, and bring in one of the top talents in world football, one of Rafael Leao Kvaratskhelia, Rodrigo Kudus, Palmer, Wirtz, Musiala, Nico Williams or Matthias Tal, depending on next season's performance, availability and of course price.